This is part 2 of a pastel demonstration of Noelle. I am continuing to move around the painting, working on skin tones, moving from dark to middle tone to light, laying the colors in a mosaical fashion, starting to put in the shadow tones on her blouse in gray and blue, trying to keep the painting eye level. That's an important thing. You'll find that your arm or shoulder will start to hurt and you realize that you need to make an adjustment. But I do usually work eye level, and I try to work with my arm extended so that I'm not too close. I have wheels on my chair, so I try to back up from the painting a lot as I'm working and look at it from a distance. Most paintings hang on the wall, so they need to be viewed from a distance. I'm working on the eyes here and resisting the urge to make the eye whites too white. There's usually one side that's darker, even a gray tone. Constantly putting the lights back in, using those sort of like a firefly to move around the painting. I have a tendency to lean in my work and make smudges, so I'm trying to be careful with that. This is a unifying color that I'm using, just a flesh tone to blend the others with a very light touch. To resist the urge to overblend. Sometimes you put all that nice color in, and before you know it, you've blended it all out. I'm using the side of the pastel again and massing in large areas. The skin tone looks rather choppy. This will be blended and smoothed later on. It's really important for a young child to have a nice smooth skin tone. I'm laying in some pinks now around the lips, a little bit bright and bizarre. Putting some darks under the chin. I usually render the whole forehead before adding any bangs, just to make sure I get the shadow tones and the skin tones. And then just pull the hair, strands of hair out over the top of the skin. When I work on an eye, I try to think about the eye like a marble. The light enters from, in this case, the left side. It goes inside the marble and spreads out and creates a little moon shape on the right side of the iris. The upper lid will create an awning over the top of the eye. I'm going in and putting some darks now back in. Popping those lights again. It's really easy to lose those. The pastel dust will fall and contaminate your lights. I grab the pastel pencil often. It's a harder version of pastel and it's nice to blend with. It doesn't deposit much color. It just smooths it without really mashing it and flattening it, making it chalky. I use this Caput Mortem color a lot in the skin tones, and then I turn it upside down just to fool my brain into thinking I'm looking at a new image. I can instantly see areas that are off when I turn it upside down. I'm mindful of, when I'm working on the eyes, of how much of the round iris that I see. Is any of the top cut off? Is any of the bottom cut off? Try to make sure that I don't have too much white showing around the iris. It'll give it a starry look, almost like a bullseye. I'm using the maul stick at this point so that I'm not laying. It steadies my hand and it also keeps me from laying my fingers in the pastel anywhere else. Drawing the shapes of this little starfish. This was her mother's necklace that she had put on her head and just made a real sweet photograph or portrait to work from. When working on this necklace, I'm thinking about patterns of light and dark, trying not to render every single link and every single trinket on the necklace, but looking at dark and medium and light. You notice I move around a lot. It just kind of helps me bring the painting along at the same stage. Going back to a pencil again to use to blend, and I try to think of what color would brighten it a little bit. Using this flesh-colored pastel pencil to blend with a little bit. One side of the eye has more white. The way the light's coming, it's hitting that sphere of the eyeball on the left side. You can see that I pick up a lot of different pastels. I'm moving around. Even though the film is sped up, I do move a lot and change colors a lot. I used a much lighter tone on the outside of her hair. If you get too dark and too sharp on the outside of the hair, it will look almost like a football helmet. So a lighter tone does make a difference and gives it a more hair-like texture. I'm using a pencil around the necklace to just clean up the edges a little bit. It's still rather outlined. I'm going to need to break the links a little bit and give each link a light, medium, and dark. Lots of blending on this baby skin tone because it does need to be smooth. You don't want it to look choppy and blotchy. I will send the client an image usually about 3/4 of the way through. I sent one of the drawing for placement. Then about 3/4 of the way through, I send just to be sure that I'm getting a likeness and to be sure that we're going in the right direction. And I welcome input. I like to get input from parents, grandparents, spouses. A lot of times they'll have a good eye for what may be off just a little bit. I will make a correction on this. I noticed later on, and after sending this to the client, we both agreed that the chin was a little short. So I did make a correction. You'll see at the end of the video, and the chin is a little bit longer. I blended quite a bit more and added a few final touches to this after I finished videoing. And I'm pretty close here. I've got a few things I can soften with her. The client also wanted me to add a little bit more hair on her left and right side because she had quite a head of hair. She's only 18 months old. Also, this is the comparison shot of it in grayscale, which I can usually tell if I'm off on my values or drawing. I usually send a copy of this to the client as well and get their input. Here's a close-up of the final video portion of the painting. I then sent this to the client and found that I had the eye color wrong. The photo, it looked green. The eyes are really dark brown, so I changed that, adding some yellow ochre and burnt sienna. I smoothed and brightened the skin tones a little bit, and here is the final version of the portrait. For more inspirational and educational art videos, subscribe to my YouTube channel at Christine Pilkinton Studio, or visit my website at portraitcreations.com.